Welcome to the Thoughtful Leader podcast. My name is Ben Brearley. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of Thoughtful Leader. The Thoughtful Leader podcast is all about short, sharp leadership advice because thoughtful leadership is good leadership.
Welcome to episode 294 of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. In this episode, I'm going to answer a question that one of my coaching clients asked me. It's a really good one about personal values and why are they really so useful. So let's get into that topic right now. So I was talking to one of my coaching clients the other day and we did some values work, and he had a really interesting question that I hadn't quite considered before. And he said, well, my values are part of who I am. So, I grew up with them and they're really a part of how I lead. So if I'm using my values anyway, how does understanding them more help me? And I thought that was a really insightful thing because he's right. Your values are a part of who you are naturally, because values are literally just stable beliefs about what is important to you. So they might come from childhood, your upbringing, any spiritual or religious beliefs you have, and those all help to shape your values over time. And I say stable because in general, our values are pretty stable things. They stay the same throughout most of our life. Yes, life events can change them as well, but for the most part, they're fairly stable. So the question is interesting because it's like, well, if those beliefs are already built into you, they obviously impact the way you lead. So why bother to work on understanding your values and things like that? Well, there's a couple of reasons why understanding them helps. Everyone is guided by their values. Even if you don't do any work on your values, you don't even think about them, you don't take my values online course or anything like that, you are impacted by your values every day. But there's a real difference with intentionally acting to line up with your values and actually just doing it by autopilot. So one of the first benefits for actually understanding your values is that you are more likely to know when situations are going to challenge you or when situations are going to bring out your best. Because if you know that, let's say, for example, that one of your values is excellence, and so you believe in doing high quality work and that's really important to you, you have very high standards. So if you're working in a team where you know that they have high standards, maybe there's a few people in there who are from a scientific background or something, and you'll know that, hey, standards are going to be important to the work of this team, and I know my key stakeholders are really important in the quality of the work that we do. You might say, hey, this would be a good team for me to work with because my values of excellence are likely to be upheld here. On the other hand, if you're in a workplace where it's like, I just get stuff out the door, you've just got to get it done as quick as possible, that's likely going to be a workplace where you struggle. Similar to my own personal values where I have, responsibility is a big one of mine. And part of that is being dependable so people can rely on me. Now, if I'm in a chaotic workplace, and I've been exposed to a few of those in the past in my career, I really struggle. Because it's hard to be dependable when things are changing every 5 seconds and you can't really prepare for what's coming next. So those environments are really bad for me, right? And so when you know that, you can start to intentionally choose where you go and what you do and the roles that you take to suit what your values are. Or if you think you're going to walk into a situation where you might be triggered by something or someone because you know they go against your values, then it's likely that you can prepare for that. You can prepare better for that. You know it's coming, so you won't be so unprepared and you might not go through such an extreme fight or flight response when something happens as part of that confrontation or whatever it is. So that's the first part. Really, it enables you to be aware of the situations where you will do your best work or feel challenged. And that means you can prepare accordingly and actually, you can ride through different leadership situations a lot better. The second real benefit in understanding your values better is that you can take action based on them. So let's go back to my example of dependability, right? I like being dependable. I like showing up on time. I like being prepared. I like it when I agree to do something, I like to show up and deliver. And that's why this morning I actually had quite an important video meeting and my internet was down and I was resorting to the hotspot on my phone and the phone connection wouldn't quite live up to my expectations regarding the video streaming that I needed for this meeting. So we actually had to push the meeting 1 week to next week. Now, that was really annoying for me because I pride myself on being dependable. And so now I'm going, well, could I have been more prepared, right? Could I have had a better backup option? All these sorts of things. So that's the sort of example where your values you can feel that you get hit by different situations. So dependability is one. Now, when I talk about practical actions that you can take, so being dependable is one of my core values. So what does that mean? Well, it means if I've got a training course to deliver or a coaching session coming up, I dedicate time before that so that I am prepared and I understand what's coming. So for a training course that I have to deliver, I will prepare days in advance to make sure I understand what I have to talk about and what the content is and what the activities are going to be, all those good things. If it's a coaching client, I'll make sure I look at the previous actions they agreed on and any context that I think is interesting to ask about before I go into that conversation. And if I have to do some sort of report or something or deliverable, I'll make sure I book time in my calendar early so that I have time dedicated to do that work that isn't booked up by something else. So I'll block out my calendar, for example. So that's some examples of practical actions you can take based on your values. So it really depends on your values, obviously, but that's another advantage of knowing them really well and being in tune with your values. So even though you are shaped with your values every day, even if you don't pay attention to them, understanding them really helps you because you can take actions to make sure you live your values better. So you can decide how you're going to act, and that helps you be in tune with your values. The last benefit I have here for understanding your values really well is there are a lot of people going through life on autopilot in our workplaces as well. So team members of yours, they might be, having emotional reactions. They might be frustrated. They get angry, whatever it might be, or they're unmotivated. And a lot of people are, just going through life on autopilot. They're not aware of their core values, which are super important because they are your stable beliefs about what's important to you, right? So if you're not really aware of them, they are still affecting you, but you're not paying attention to them. So this is where we see people who are constantly under stress, or they feel bad about something and they're not sure why, or they feel tension in their life and in their work. A lot of it is down to the values. And sometimes when we're not paying attention to what our values are, we can exist in a state of stress because our values aren't aligned with what we're doing, but we're not aware of it. And so we go through life in a highly stressed state, which can obviously have impacts on health and mental health and all these things. So understanding your values means that you basically are more conscious of the things impacting you as well. And you'll know when you aren't following them. And so then you can do something to course correct. So I thought that was a really great question from my client. And he's right. You aren't just turning on your values, but if you are able to be aware of them and understand them well, you can take action to align with them. You can be more prepared when things are going to trigger you, or you can prepare to put yourself in a better situation. And you'll know when you aren't aligned with your values and you're, under stress because of that, and you can take action accordingly. You can also make good decisions based on your values as well. So those are the reasons why understanding your values is really important. And if this resonated with you, I'd encourage you to check out my values online course, which is quite short. It's like an hour of video in total. But what it has is a great little workbook which helps you work through the process of identifying your values. And the key bit that I add to this course is Rather than just having a list of values at the end, I get you to think about what that really means for you and your leadership and your life. So I try to get it into a bit more practical terms than just giving you a list of values. So check that course out. I'll put it in the link on my show notes page, which will be thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/294. People really like the course. It's step by step, easy to follow. So check it out. I can guarantee it's going to be one of the best foundation pieces of work that you do for your leadership. It'll just make you so much more aware of what is shaping your behavior and the way you perceive the world around you. So give it a go. And thank you for listening to this podcast. And I really appreciate it. If you like the podcast, jump on Spotify or whatever your app is and give me a 5-star review. That would be much appreciated. But otherwise, I'll be back next week.